Good evening, folks. Welcome to the second edition of Curveball Convos. This is our weekend recap. This is our Sunday show to recap the opening weekend of college baseball. There was a lot of fun things going around the country, a lot of close scores, a lot of kind of not so close score as we saw. Wagner put up 30 runs in an inning. William and Mary in Rhode Island's final score was like 35 to 22. I don't know. It kind of begs the question: are the wooden bats? Is it time for them to come back, or we want to keep up with the metal bats? But as for tonight, we're going to stay in the Carolinas and talk about all of the great action that happened here tonight. It is a three-man show. Myself, Braxton, and Reed. We are here all night to talk ball with you. As you come in, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, interact with us. We love to talk ball. That's what we're here to do all night long until 10 p.m. Braxton, you have your opening statements.
Yeah, man, it was a great weekend of ball. Obviously, Friday was one of the most exciting days of the year. Felt like Christmas. Waking up, watching ball as much as I could with work going on and everything. But a lot of double headers. I think the biggest winner of the weekend was Mother Nature. I mean, she's undefeated. I think we had a couple series that we would have loved to see play out that unfortunately couldn't. But it was a great weekend of baseball, and I'm excited to kind of break down some of the action and then get to our rankings that will come out tomorrow. We're not going to release them tonight, obviously, but we can touch on some things with teams, and hopefully you guys can give us some comments and give us some talking points, and we'll kind of go at it here. It was a great weekend though.
Yes, sir, it was. Thank you, Braxton, for those comments. And our final member of the panel tonight, the funniest one, Reed Tobin. What are your thoughts on the weekend?
Yeah, just glad college baseball's finally back. But yeah, like Braxton said, Mother Nature played a big hamper on a lot of the series this weekend in the Carolinas. Obviously, Charlotte Northeastern didn't get to finish. BC and Upstate. But overall, it was a really exciting weekend. Upsets, blowouts, just a lot of good stuff this weekend that we'll dig into here shortly.
Yeah, and as you talk about Mother Nature, it's really unfortunate that we did not get to see a lot of these series. And as you noted on Charlotte and Northeastern did not get to finish. That was on one of our weekly pick'em ones, as well as BC and USC Upstate, which was a great series that I think a lot of people wanted to see who the winner of that was, but pretty unfortunate that we did not get to see the end of that. And also to note on Mother Nature, next week is not the best look either. We are looking for record low temperatures. I'll give it to our meteorologist, Reed Tobin, on the forecast for next weekend.
Yeah, I think Tuesday we should be able to squeeze all the games in tomorrow and Tuesday, but I think we're going to be looking at a lot of cancellations on Wednesday, and just hoping the weather stays. It's going to be cold next weekend, but I'm hoping that all the snow and ice that we're supposedly supposed to get is gone by next weekend. So we'll see.
Yeah, because speaking of next weekend, us three are going to have some plans along with two of the other Carolina Curveball boys. Braxton, where will we be on site and on location for in 3 blankets, 2 toboggans, hand warmers, toe warmers, hot chocolate, maybe a little spiked hot chocolate? Braxton, where will we be?
Yeah, we're gonna head out to the DBAP in Durham. Obviously, East Carolina, North Carolina, big in-state matchup next weekend. So we're all excited to be out there. Obviously, it's going to be a big. I imagine it will still be a big crowd on both sides. Cold, warm. I don't think the weather matters. I think both these fan bases will show out for a series like that every year, and I'm just excited to see them play. Obviously, East Carolina, a bit of a tough weekend, which we'll touch on. North Carolina looking strong here at the beginning, so I think it'll be interesting to see how they play. We obviously remember last year's series. We were at pretty much. I think I was at 2 of those games. You guys were at 2 of those games. It was a good time just to see those 2 teams go at it. So I'm excited that we'll get to go and see that again on Saturday.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I mean, I love the format of this. It's been like this for a couple of years now, where they play a game at ECU and in Chapel Hill, and then they do a neutral site game. Last year, it was in Segra Stadium in Fayetteville, where the Houston Astros single A the Fayetteville Wood, no, not the Woodpeckers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they play just absolute phenomenal stadium, by the way, and very unfortunate that they have no TV setup, no camera set up in that stadium. So that was a major problem. I mean, we were watching it off. People who knew about the stream were watching off Carter Cunningham's dad Twitch stream behind home plate on a little GoPro. That was the best way to watch it, and it's really unfortunate that no one really got to see that great game. It was a phenomenal game from both schools. That's always a phenomenal series. And that is kind of us looking forward to this upcoming week. But boys, I think we need to touch on opening weekend. I mean, there were so many crazy games. There's a lot of surprises. Some things we saw that weren't as surprising. Some things were surprising. So Braxton, I'll lead off with you. What are your kind of key takeaways and kind of key talking points you want to talk about from opening weekend in the Carolinas?
yeah. I was surprised to see Duke. I think that's one of the biggest surprises of the weekend. Just kind of them coming out pretty flat. Since he really, honestly, could have swept them with that game on Saturday night going into extras. I mean, it was. I was surprised. I thought that they would handle Cincy. Cincy was a program that got a lot better from. I know we've both seen them in some recent years that haven't been very, very good. So I was surprised for them to come into Jack Coombs Field in Durham and just pretty much flatten Duke. I mean, of their energy and dominate that series. I think obviously the Heels looked really good, which we'll touch on. But yeah, I'd say the biggest takeaway for me was maybe Duke being a little bit. It's hard to overreact on week one because there's a lot of ball that needs to be played. I think they will bounce back, but I was surprised to see how Cincinnati handled them.
Yeah, that was a real shock. I know today we were at the coveted pad, Braxton's and Matt's place of residence, and we were watching that Duke Cincinnati game, and we were just kind of watching it like, what is going on? I mean, it was the second inning. We got a bunch of TVs over there at Braxton's, and we're kind of that game was to the side, and all of a sudden we look up, Cincinnati's got bases loaded, no outs in the second. We're like, what's going on? And then the runs just really started pouring in. Read any quick comments on Duke and Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly a shock, like Braxton was saying. I mean, they were just thoroughly embarrassed today. But like you said, it's early to get a big grasp on what this Duke team is. I think they'll be fine. They play Wilmington, I believe, on Tuesday, so that'll be a good test for them. But, Wake Forest really caught my eye. I know they didn't play anyone really this weekend, but just the dominant fashion they looked in each game, kind of back to like how they looked 2 years ago. Merrick Houston was sensational all weekend. We'll kind of touch on his stats here shortly.
Yeah, now speaking on Merrick Houston, I'll kind of read off his stats right now. Thank you to Braxton for compiling, going through, digging, doing all the research to get all these stats of all these guys this weekend. Merrick Houston this weekend. This is real. This isn't MLB The Show stats. He was 10 for 14, 3 home runs, 1 double, 13 RBIs, 10 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. That is why he is a preseason first-team All-American shortstop. I mean, it doesn't get no better than that. I mean, just talk about 10 for 14 is unreal. 3 home runs. I'm sorry, in college baseball, you're not seeing that from your starting shortstop. That's not a normal shortstop, starting shortstop in Division I baseball. 10 for 14, maybe, yeah. But 3 home runs is absolutely unbelievable. And you can say what you want about who was playing, but 10 for 14, 3 home runs, 13 RBIs. I mean, it doesn't get no better than that. Braxton, any other comments on Wake or Merrick Houston?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I think we said before the season, like for Wake to be successful, it really needs to start with Merrick Houston. Obviously, we know how good of a glove he is at shortstop. He's proven that last season, but he wasn't really their big offensive juggernaut. Also, Ethan Conrad looked really good. He had a very good stat line as well this weekend with a lot of extra base hits. The transfer from Marist, but Yeah, they didn't play anyone. I mean, Long Island was a regional team last year. I was kind of surprised that they didn't do better. I think they beat Marist in both of their games against each other, but I mean, Wake looks really good. I think their pitching surprised me too. Starter Matthew Dallas, I think he's a Tennessee transfer if I'm not mistaken. He looked really good in his start. They kind of limited their starters to about 4 innings apiece, and they all looked really good. So I think they are back, and they are going to challenge in the ACC for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the ACC looks like a very, very, very tough conference to win this year. As Reed alluded to last week in his bold predictions, he thinks an ACC team will finally break the curse or whatever you want to call it to win a national championship in Omaha. I think another ACC team that we kind of want to touch on is NC State. They picked up a sweep versus Fordham. I know that Fordham is not the most amazing opponent, but then again, NC State did put up a lot of runs this week from a lot of different players, and I think that was a big question going into the season, talking about where that offensive production was going to come from. And then, I mean, just kind of like Colby said last week, Alex Sosa hit 2 home runs this weekend, and just he's a stud. Just another line of great NC State catchers, just going to go down that pipeline. And just wanted to highlight NC State right there, having another pretty good week. Reed, is there any other series this week you kind of want to quick touch on before we talk about our pick 'em this past week?
Yeah, I'll go with Campbell. I didn't think they were going to win the series. I picked, obviously, Santa Barbara, but they were pretty much embarrassed each game. None of those games were relatively close. Like we said, I think we all thought it would take Campbell some time, obviously, with the new coach and replacing Lawson and Knipp and co. But I would have expected a little more from them this weekend. So, I mean, obviously, it's going to set the stage for a big one Tuesday night.
Coming up, yeah, for sure. And another team, I want to get a quick little shout out here. Queens. How about Queens taking 2 versus App State in Hickory? Just kind of a real shock to start the season. I know App State last year was a pretty solid team. They had 2 absolute studs, borderline All-American players, and just kind of a shock from Queens this week. I mean, I'm very happy with that program, but on the flip side of that, kind of disappointed in the Mountaineers. I mean, the Mountaineers are in the Sun Belt. It's not going to get any easier for them the rest of the year. So I think it's kind of now or never for the Mountaineers, Braxton, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I actually did think that Queens would be able to at least take a game in that series. I think I mentioned that to y'all. Yeah, I mean, I said before the season, App State with that pitcher out. I mean, that's their main guy. That's one game a weekend that you have to kind of scramble to find someone else to fill that role. So I think a lot of those games were high scoring too. So probably a lot of offense, not a lot of pitching. But yeah, good for Queens to get a series win to start the year, kind of propel their season into gear, and we'll see what they can do. Obviously, they're in the A-Sun, I believe, so kind of a different kind of schedule for them. But yeah, App State, I think they're going to struggle in the Sun Belt. It looks like.
Yeah, it's not. But just like we said earlier about Duke, it's just the first week. You never know. Maybe they need this as a team. They're going to grow up. And I want to give another team a quick shout out. Elon. I know they did not get a win this week down there in College Station versus the number 1 team in the country.
Toe to toe with them, game 1.
Texas A&M. I mean, we all were watching that game 1, and I mean, Elon was right there with some toe to toe. I mean, I think they were scoreless through 4. I think 4.
They were up in the 6th inning.
Yeah, and Reed, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, they played them that Friday game, especially. I mean, definitely nerves for the Aggies, number 1 team in the country, welcoming Elon to town. But I think the final was 4-2, I believe, on Friday. Obviously, they run ruled them on Saturday, but I think Elon led in that game early again Saturday. So I mean, you could see Elon maybe causing some noise in the CAA this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to get y'all's thoughts. I know I have my feelings on it. What are y'all's thoughts on the bubbles down there in College Station?
The worst.
I'm not a big fan of it either. I like their whole like ball 5, ball 6 thing is it. I mean, I get it. Like it definitely is a home field advantage, but I will say, like, they struggled defensively early, like, in those games. Like, they were kicking the ball around, and that's a big reason why Elon was staying in that game. And then eventually, that crowd just got into it. And I think I saw on Twitter or on X, like tonight, that they had like a record-breaking crowd for opening weekend, like something like 20,000 for the whole
Yeah,
weekend, which is
yeah.
just nuts.
But I will say, go Phoenix. I'm very, very proud of that program. Really, really looking forward to what they have in store. Braxton, if you want to pull up the Pick'em series, we will kind of recap that, give our
Yep,
thoughts, say our records.
yep, pulling it up.
So, folks, these were our Pick'em games this past week. We're going to do 5 a week. This week was Northeastern and Charlotte. They sadly did not get to finish the series due to Mother Nature, winning per usual. But I will say, Reed Tobin, the lone Northeastern pick, did you feel confident Northeastern was going to win that last game, or were you kind of like, ooh, skeptical about your pick?
I didn't get to see the first game. Unfortunately, I was working. But I mean, Northeastern, obviously, we know they've been in the NCAA tournament the past couple years. It's had a really good run of years, probably the last 5 years. It's unfortunate didn't get to see it, but yeah, it appears Charlotte is going to be much better this year.
For sure. And Braxton, I'll let you touch on your boys down there at Upstate in their battle with the Eagles.
Yeah, no. Again, another series that unfortunately couldn't finish. I think they were supposed to play a doubleheader today, but we got word that it was only going to be one. They were going to start around like 10 a.m., but that park probably got a lot of rain, so I'm assuming they and Boston College probably had to get back up to on a flight or something. So yeah, they played them well. I mean, both games that they played were kind of back and forth. I watched a little bit of the Friday game, and I mean, Upstate hit back to back to back home runs, which was crazy. I mean, it was on 3 pitches. We were me and I think it was Reed. Were you? Yeah, you were over here
Yeah,
for
I
that.
saw that.
It
Yeah.
was like 3 pitches, just home run after home run. Um, their offense looks really good, and also some of their young pitchers looked pretty good too. They're gonna compete on the mound, I think. Um, Today's game was interesting too. I mean, Upstate kind of got down a little bit, but they came back. They clawed back. Shout out to one of my buddies, Jake Armsy, as he's known over there, LP. He had a heck of a day today. Couple of doubles off the wall, and then he ended up hitting a home run as well to tie that ball game. So they're going to be good. Vance Sheehan as well hit the ball real well all weekend. So they looked really good. I'm proud of them for taking a game from a Power Five. That's always a big deal for us over down there in Spartanburg. So I'm happy to see what they do the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. We're really going to follow them pretty closely because of your connections, for sure. And the next one, VCU and Charleston. The technician was the lone one to pick the Rams. Real quick, if we take a little quick look at the technician's record, we can kind of do some math here on the tech's record.
0-3.
Not the best. Not very teching it up. Read any comments on the technician really fast?
Yeah, I guess if he picks you, that means you're gonna lose. So
Yeah, so I guess he's not invited to the cookout anymore, right?
yeah, apparently probably not.
So as we take a quick look at Charleston and VCU, Charleston won this series 2-1. Good series. Another great outing. I'm honestly carrying on from last year. Jake Brink for Charleston Southern. 5 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, 3 hits in the win. Just another stellar display from him. And just really looking forward to see what this Charleston team has going forward. Boys, any comments on that series?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Reed.
Yeah, I'll just touch Avery Neves. He had a really solid year last year. But this opening weekend, I believe he was 6 for 11, multiple extra base hits. They looked really impressive on Friday in that doubleheader.
Braxton?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I got to watch. I think it was the Saturday game, the first game of the doubleheader Saturday. Aiden Hunter kind of started out first pitch of the game. VCU takes him deep. Then he kind of settled in and kind of looked like himself that he was last season. I think that 1-2 with Brink and Hunter, and then even the lefty they threw on Sunday, he kind of I don't think he had the best outing, but that rotation is going to be a problem all season. I think this Charleston team, even if they would have swept, I think we would be sitting here talking about them a lot more than because I was expecting them to sweep when they won that second game. But VCU, obviously, a good team for them to go and get one there. But I expect this Charleston team to move up our rankings, in the near future. Maybe not this week, but I think they're going to be winning a lot of games this season. I'm very impressed with their staff and even their offense too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the CAA as we watched a lot of CAA teams in action this week. I mean, this next one has you two writing all over it. Texas Tech and Carolina. Whoever wants to take it first. I know y'all were watching that series very, very close.
Yeah, I'll just start. Yeah, I was really impressed. I thought Tech would take one, but the Heels were dominant all weekend. The addition of Kane Kepley replacing Honeycutt in center. I mean, what a weekend he had. That catch on Friday in that first game of the doubleheader was incredible. Reminded me of Honeycutt against Georgia a few years ago. And then just his speed to get down or stealing multiple bases in those games. The pitching was really good. Obviously, I thought Carolina would have the best pitching staff in the Carolinas this year, and they looked up to that this weekend.
Braxton?
Yeah, no, Reed, I think that prediction was kind of even before we even knew about what these freshmen had, and those three freshmen that came in this weekend looked really, really good, and that makes them even deeper. I think McDuffie, Ryan Lynch yesterday, and then the other one was Seagraves, I think.
Yeah,
they look really, really good coming out of the pen, and I expect that was kind of the big takeaway for me was the pitching staff more so than the offense. The offense is going to come. I mean, they didn't hit any home runs this weekend, but they just did what they needed to find holes, score runs. Kane Kepley is just a straight run producer. Matt said it best there on the comment, like he's a stud, man. That's such a good get for them to just sit in that leadoff spot, steal bases, produce runs. Like I saw one play, he went to steal third and then got up immediately and just came home, with a bad throw. So they look really good. I'm really excited to see what their season looks like because I think they're going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think this team's going to hit for a lot less home runs than they did last year, but I think they'll still – obviously Honeycutt had nearly 30 stolen bases this year, but as a team they didn't really have that many. Obviously D'Onofrio had a good amount, but I think this team will find other ways to win games this year with that pitching staff, stealing more bases, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Braxton, I think before we get to the final series, I think we'll show this comment for you to kind of.
LP's in the building, baby. Big Body was my nickname at Upstate. So
after a great game today by him, and the final one we're going to talk about is Campbell and UC Santa Barbara. I will say, I know we have a strong Campbell following. Not trying to make them mad, but I will say I am disappointed from them this weekend. I was really kind of looking forward to them having a nice bounce back from last year. But then again, just like I said in the first one, I think that maybe traveling across the country for your first series does kind of play a factor in that. Also, Santa Barbara did host a regional last year. They are a very good program, a top program. So really just kind of disappointed by them. And honestly, it wasn't close. The first one was 6-1. The second one was, I think, 7-2, and today was 14-4, I think. So just kind of disappointed by them. They have a big opportunity on Tuesday, though, versus East Carolina Pirates down there in Bowie's Creek. So really kind of looking forward to that. Reed or Braxton, any comments on that series?
Yeah, I was going to say my biggest takeaway from that one was more so that Santa Barbara is really good. The reason I picked Santa Barbara is just because for Campbell to go to the West Coast and play probably one of the best teams on the West Coast, in my opinion, like that's just tough to do out of the gate. They know kind of their brand of baseball out there, and they're going to play it, especially on opening weekend, and they're probably going to beat you. And I was really impressed with them. I think Campbell's going to be fine. I think I told you this today. Like I could see them losing today, which they did, and coming back Tuesday and bringing a big crowd on Tuesday night and beating the Pirates. Obviously, the Pirates didn't look good I think they're going to be ready to play too, so that should be a really good one. But I can see Campbell winning that game and just kind of getting their fans bought back in, because that's a tough series to open the year. I think a lot of teams would go to Santa Barbara and lose. Um, so I think Campbell, no time to panic. Let's see how the midweek goes. Get focus on that game. And we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, for sure. And as we kind of start to get the comments rolling in, please feel free to comment if you're watching. We love to talk ball. We love to kind of interact with you. Our good friend Dylan, former South Carolina pitcher himself, says South Carolina gave up 3 earned runs with 45 Ks over 25 innings. Interested to see if they can keep it up. A lot of unproven guys. I mean, they had a very, very solid week this week, only giving up 3 earned runs. Braxton, do you have any comments on the Gamecocks?
yeah, no, I saw some of their box scores. I watched a little bit of their action. Obviously, Petrie had a decent week. I think the pitching was definitely the more impressive part for them. I think it was Becker, and then McCoy today looked really, really good. And then Eskew, I think, was the Friday night starter. But Sacred Heart's not a great team. But I think the Gamecocks just took care of business each day. Paul Maneri's just that type of coach. I think he's going to come out, throw his guys, get a lot of pitchers some action just to get some innings in. And they all look good. They struck out quite a few batters, like Dylan said, and they're finding a lot of missed bats early in the year, and I think that's going to continue. They've got a tough game coming up on Tuesday against Winthrop, who had a great weekend as well. And they got to go to Winthrop's stadium actually, which I'm sure they're gonna bring a lot of Gamecock fans to that one. But it's going to be a fun one. But I was very impressed with the Gamecocks on the mound for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think they took that 14 place in the SEC preseason poll to heart. They definitely did not look like the 14th best team in the SEC this past weekend. Granted, it is Sacred Heart. We're going to find out a lot about them going forward, especially on Tuesday, as you noted, taking that trip up to Rock Hill. We will see then. Read any comments on the Gamecocks if you have any.
Yeah, I mean Petrie and Co. They looked that pitching staff, obviously, like Dylan and Braxton were talking about. I'm looking forward to seeing them on Tuesday. I think that would be a good test for them and Paul Maneri.
Yeah,
It's
and
just weird to see them at South Carolina still.
It is weird.
Yeah. Braxton, as you want to pull up the slate graphics, we can kind of bounce around the games.
Yeah.
One that I kind of want us to discuss is there wasn't a series. It was a kind of round robin kind of thing down there in Wilmington as the Seahawks faced the Bulldogs and Quinnipiac. I'm unfamiliar with Quinnipiac's mascot off the top of my head. Do you guys know it by chance?
Could not tell
the
you.
Wildcats maybe, or the Catamounts, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's some sort of cat.
Yeah, Wilmington, solid. They had a. I would say they had a solid week. Would y'all say they went 2 and?
Yeah.
They went 2 and 2. I definitely Bobcats. Thank you.
Bobcats.
Thank you very much, Dylan. I definitely think the loss to Quinnipiac was not very ideal, to so to speak. That was not in their best for sure. Reed or Braxton, any comments on Wilmington? They did get one versus the Bulldogs today, though, which was huge for their program.
Yeah, they look really good today against Georgia. Obviously, beating a top 10 team first weekend of the series of the season is always a good thing. But I mean, had they gone 3-1, I think more people would have been talking about that had they not lost to Quinnipiac last night. But I like where this team is. Obviously, they got another big game Tuesday. I believe they're in Durham Tuesday night. But shout out Tanner Thatch. I mean, he had an absolute missile on opening night.
Yeah, and as Braxton pulls up the scores here, just kind of running through them. How about the High Point Panthers? I mean, how about an offensive explosion? Granted, NJIT is not the best team, but just still 20 runs is impressive. I mean, as we talked about as we opened the show, just some of these scores, I feel like we're back in the fall playing football. Kind of crazy. Very unfortunate that Davidson did not get to finish their series today versus Bryant. As we touched on earlier, Duke and Cincinnati. And then Creighton and UNCG, I mean, 17-1. I mean, holy cow, talk about football scores. And Wofford. I mean, there are three things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and Wofford winning baseball games. I mean, they've had 3 straight 40-win seasons. They just continue to win games. I mean, granted, Ohio may not be the best team, but just finding ways to win games, especially 13-12, is always important. Braxton, is there another slide on this one that we can discuss?
Yeah, I did want to go back to Wilmington real quick.
Of course, yeah, go ahead.
Reed makes the exact point I was trying to make. Like, uh, if they had beaten Quinnipiac and gone 3-1, I think we'd be talking a lot more about them. Just because any weekend you can beat Georgia, especially when they're top 10 like they are this year, that's a good weekend. I mean, yeah, it's a tough loss against Quinnipiac, but going 2-2, I think if before, kind of before the weekend, I think a lot of Wilmington fans would take that. I think if you told them how it played out, I think they would have rather gone 3-1. With stealing one against Georgia today, but yeah, we'll move. We'll go to the next page. There's another page. Okay, there it is.
And as we touched on earlier, Elon and Texas A&M. I mean, I think going down there and putting up the fight they did to win to me. I don't know if we count moral victories here, but we do here. So the next one, Western Carolina, our good friends at the Catamount Sports Network. They are a big supporters of us. We are very thankful for that. Very unfortunate that they were not able to pull one out this week versus Georgia Southern. They were leading today.
Yeah.
Weren't they, Braxton? We were watching that over there. Those two games did not get to play, Charleston Southern and A&T. As we discussed earlier, Georgia and South Carolina game. And one team that we have not yet to discuss tonight is Clemson. They lost not a very close one to Ole Miss today, but they did start out very hot. I think they were the first team in the Carolinas to play, if I'm not mistaken, at 12 on Friday. Right, Braxton?
Yeah, there was a lot of teams that ended up getting moved up to 12, but yeah, they were one of the first, and they that was a big comeback for them to come back, because if you're looking at 1-2 weekend, that's a little bit different. But I think they had a good weekend beating a ranked team in Oklahoma State on a comeback, and then putting up a ton of
Crushing
runs.
Arizona.
Yeah, putting up a ton of runs against Arizona. Obviously today, I think Ole Miss just played a really good game. But yeah, they're gonna be really good. Obviously, Clemson is gonna be really good. So we will see what they do. I think they got Presbyterian in the midweek, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
Canarella against was it Arizona when he four
Yeah.
for 6, 4 doubles?
he had three doubles, which tied a school record at Clemson for doubles in the game. So
Yeah. Are we shocked about Cam Canarella putting up those numbers?
No.
Not at all. Also, another quick hitter. Just remember, I was at work on Friday, kind of following that game, and I kept getting texts from Braxton talking about Aiden Kanak on fire to start the game, and then and then he kind of had a couple slip ups, gave a couple runs, but then again, at the end of the day, the Tigers did end up pulling it out. Braxton, just quick little hitter on that.
yeah, I think I jinxed him because
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he goes out first 2 innings, 6 batters, 6 strikeouts. I'm like, dude, my bold prediction is we're good, we're set. He's going to lead the nation in strikeouts. Next inning, gives up like 3 hits, a home run, couple runs. I was like, all right, here we go. But he did look good. I think they just kind of credit to Oklahoma State. Those hitters the second time, well, really it was the bottom of the order, but the second time through as well, just figured him out. And were able to get him out of there. But they Clemson, of course, with the bullpen and the bats, ended up coming back. I will say one other thing about Clemson: their transfer bats, like the Listy kid, Gaffney, and I can't remember the other. Oh, Priest. Those 3 look really, really good. Like really mature hitters. They look like they know how to hit at the college level, and I think those are just really good pickups for Clemson. Bakich being kind of a Big Ten guy. We talked about him today a lot, like coming from Michigan, and bringing some Big Ten talent with him. I think they're going to be really good for that team.
I agree 100%. And to keep it in South Carolina, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers had themselves a weekend this weekend, and also they are also playing tomorrow, folks. They are playing tomorrow versus Kansas State at 3:30 on ESPN Plus. Make sure to tune into that. But they had an absolute great week once again, led by, if any Pirates are watching, Colby Thorndike might be a name you might remember from 2 years ago. He went 6 for 12, two doubles, 5 RBIs. Braxton, he took a year in JUCO, then came to Coastal, correct?
I think so. I don't remember off the top of my head which JUCO. I think it might have been. I don't want to say the wrong team, but he went JUCO 1 year, I believe. And you said he was at ECU. I didn't actually know that. So
Yeah, I remember him. I don't remember him very vividly, but I remember him on the team for sure. And just kind of another great weekend win for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Braxton, can you go back to Saturday's finals? Because I know some series ended
yeah,
on
the
Saturday.
let me go pull that one up.
Yeah, I mean,
It was
Coastal
Brunswick, by the
dominant
way.
all weekend.
Yeah, Reed, if you have any comments on Coastal, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, certainly today. I mean, we watched them a little bit today. They destroyed Washington, obviously. Obviously, I think they played St. Joe's and Kansas State as well. Just very impressive all throughout that order. The new additions on the team. Obviously, Gary Gilmore is no longer there. So yeah, I was interested to see them and very impressed. They have a big week coming up this week. Obviously, they're going down to Jacksonville later at the end of the week. So excited to see that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And just as you talk about that, just kind of the Chanticleers are going to be very battle tested going into the Sun Belt this year with all of their non-conference. And I think in a couple, I'm not sure the date, but they do play ECU coming up. I don't know the exact date of that, but just goes
Second
to
week of March.
just goes to
I
how
believe
battle
so.
tested they're going to be. Here we'll kind of note on some. One that we have yet to talk about are the East Carolina Pirates, as we got a comment from our favorite Carolina Curveball member. Pirates struggled at home against Pepperdine School of Arts. That is just the furthest thing from the truth. They played against a solid A10 team in George Mason, who kind of gave it to the Pirates. I mean, but then again, the Pirates are a very, very young team. I know Friday they had 5 freshmen in their lineup. I am honestly not sure if any other team in the country had that. I can confidently guess probably not, and especially in this portal era. I know that only one transfer started for East Carolina this weekend, and that was Alex Boucher at shortstop, who I think is going to be a great addition to the Pirates. He hit the walk-off on Saturday to take this game you see on the slate right here. Him at shortstop was great. Also, that game, that final Saturday game, which was game 3, Sean Jenkins, the freshman, started. I think he looked pretty solid for a 17-year-old freshman. I mean, you saw the velocity was there. You saw the location was there. Yes, he gave up a couple hits, a couple earned runs, but then again, think about it. He is 17 years old. It was cold. It is early February, so kind of they're going to figure it out. And just the Pirates really shifted around all their position players this weekend. I think the only one that kind of stayed was Keenan Bowman was in the outfield. He switched from right to left, but he was out there. Same with Dixie Williams, but he shifted all around the infield. Colby Wallace hit his first career home run. A lot of good things happened for the young Pirates this weekend. Reed, any quick comments on the Pirates? What was your analysis of them through week 1?
Obviously, it was a bit of a underwhelming weekend for them. But I mean, obviously, not having Riley Johnson, they really struggled all weekend just to get guys on base, and Riley does such a great job of finding a way to get on base. So I mean, I think that would have sparked them maybe a little bit more. But I mean, there was positives to take away. Dixon Williams was sensational all weekend, and I thought Colby Wallace looked really good on the mound. I know I was going crazy when Cliff came out and pulled him after walking that one guy in the ninth. I was just keep him in the game, let him finish. But you know how Cliff is with his bullpen. So
how is Cliff, Reed?
Just overthinks it maybe a couple too many times, to say the least.
For sure. And just a little comment on Colby Wallace. I do think he will be a major addition to the ECU bullpen this year. I think him playing first is the play this year. I know he got some run at third base this week. Honestly, the ECU infield was not changed every other inning. I mean, that's with every ECU team so far. They kind of feel it out. The lineup we're going to see so many different lineups with this team, Reed, by the end of the season.
Right.
It's going to be so different. But going in to kind of keep it on the Pirates as we have a big game coming up this week. Matt has a comment. Tuesday's prediction for the Hungry Camels. What do you guys think is going to go down? Kind of a quick little snippet preview on Tuesday's battle in Bowie's Creek. Braxton, I'll let you lead off.
Yeah, I think I kind of hinted at it earlier. I think Campbell's gonna win this game. I think just them. I think it's more so both teams obviously struggled at the weekend. I think Pirates are happy to win the series, kind of avoid getting beat there, which would have been not good. Let's just say that. Campbell fans are going to be showing out, I think, for this game. Pirate fans will too. Casey, you obviously have been to a Campbell versus ECU game at Campbell, so you can kind of speak on this better than me. But I think that Campbell's going to really hone in on and want to win this game. Obviously, they're going to get a little more desperate that they're 0-3 at the moment, and I think they're going to throw someone. I don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to throw a good arm out there, and I think ECU is going to have to try to give another one of their young guns a chance. And I think Campbell's going to hit the baseball and produce runs. I think they're going to win this game. So I would say Camels to take this one.
Yeah, and as you kind of noted on, I did go last year to the ECU Campbell game. Reed Tobin was there with me. Reed, I think the temperature of that game was a crisp 33 degrees, maybe.
Yeah, it was chilly.
It was chilly to say the least. And the technician was with us too, right?
He was.
Yeah, and that was not the most ideal game for the Pirates. I think Grant Knipp hit a home run. Lawson Harrell hit one too, maybe. But I do know Grant Knipp finished the game on the mound and got the win, which was kind of incredible. It's just absolutely bizarre to me. I will say I am looking forward to this game. I will not say my prediction on who's going to win because I kind of want to think on it. But read your quick comments on the battle in Bowie's Creek coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, we all know the Pirates have struggled down there past couple of years, but I think Braxton brings up some good points. I'm going to go with Kaysen. I'm not going to make a comment or a prediction for the game on Tuesday. But I mean, both teams I think are desperately going to want this one. Obviously, the Pirates don't want to start 2-2, and Campbell trying to avoid the over for 4. So,
yeah, for sure. And as we kind of finish our recap of the weekend, are there any other teams or notable performances that y'all want to touch on?
Let's see here. I know that there's one game still going on. I think it's Charleston Southern tonight. Let's see. We mentioned Wofford. Did we talk about High Point?
Sort of. I kind of touched on them, talking about how many runs they put up.
Yeah.
Touch on them, you can.
No, yeah. NJIT. I don't think they're that good of a program. But High Point looked really good. Obviously, they're at home. I want to say they play App in the midweek. I'm not too sure on that, but they looked really good. Like they've put up a ton of runs. Some of their guys had some crazy numbers. Let me pull that up. It was who had the numbers for them? Yeah, Connie Derschlag, 8 for 13 with 2 homers, a double, couple of steals, and then Landon Johnson. I think he hit the walk-off in one of those games. They had a walk-off home run. He went 6 for 12 with 2 homers and 9 RBIs as well. So they look like they're wanting to defend that Big South title over there in High Point. So shout out Adam Stewart and that team last year. But they looked really good, and I just wanted to give them some flowers for this weekend. Could sneak into our top 12. We'll see. But I think that's it. Winthrop, again, I mentioned them a little bit. They look really good. Excited to see how they play against the Gamecocks.
Yes, sir. Read any other final comments on the recap of games, and we'll kind of get into this next segment, some notable performances, highlight some guys. So read any final comments on any series?
No, I mean, I think we did a good job covering. Let's say Greensboro, obviously they got crushed today against Creighton, but Friday they won both games against Creighton. Creighton honestly had a pretty good year last year. Was hanging around right around the bubble last year. So that was neat to see. But overall it was just great to finally have the sport back this weekend, and fingers crossed about the weather this upcoming week.
Fingers crossed for sure. And as now we're kind of going to go through some notable performances of kind of guys that you might not have seen because there was so much baseball this weekend. It's kind of hard to watch it all. I mean, not kind of hard, it's impossible to watch it all. So we're kind of going to give you some highlight names right here, also kind of sneak peek preview. Every Monday, along with our power rankings, we're going to have a Carolina Curveball Player of the Week and Pitcher of the Week, along with Curveball Honorable Mentions. These Curveball Honorable Mentions will be a nice handful of players that kind of don't get the shine that they deserve because they are some smaller programs and kind of the programs, the big dogs kind of overshadow them. So really going to kind of give a highlight to those programs that don't get to be put in the limelight a lot. So Braxton, if you kind of want to lead off with some guys on our week one honors sheet that we can kind of talk about a little bit on who had some great weeks.
Yeah, I'll start on the pitching. Mike Sturma for Charlotte had a really good outing in their win against Northeastern. He went 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, only 1 earned run. I think it starts there on the mound for the 49ers. And if he's going to be their Friday guy all year, I think he needs to throw, 6, 7 innings and really give that team a good chance to win. I think they looked really good, especially beating a good club like Northeastern. I wish we could have finished that series. Obviously, we mentioned that. But, I mean, yeah, we talked about Merrick Houston on the offensive side of the ball. What a week he had. It's going to be tough to beat those numbers. If there was an early favorite for Player of the Week, I would probably say him. But obviously, we'll crunch some more of these numbers. Let's see. Another pitcher that had a great weekend was Zane Taylor for UNCW. I think it was a complete game because I think it was a run rule. He threw like 7 2/3, 9 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 3 hits. He had a very good outing for Wilmington, and he is also going to be, I think, their Friday guy all year. Well, to start the year and probably all season if he stays healthy. But he looked really, really good for the Seahawks as well.
Yeah, he was an absolute stud. And just kind of some other quick highlights. Just I know I do not have the stats off the top of my head because they are not on the sheet yet, but I know Dixon Williams had 2 home runs this weekend, 2 massive ones for the Pirates. I know that I said he was going to lead the Carolinas in batting average, and I'm proud of my bold prediction thus far.
I think those were his only 2 hits, though.
Well, they were big ones.
They were big swings, I'll say
That's
that.
second homer.
They were big hits, for sure.
For sure. Reed, you want to touch on any notable performances?
Yeah, well, I'll shout out Justin Mitrovic from Elon. Opening night Friday. Go down there to the
battling the bubbles.
Go down to College Station. Obviously, you said the bubbles. 5 innings pitched, not giving up a single run to that lineup. That was really really cool to see.
Only 1 hit, too.
Yeah. I mean, I know he walked a couple guys, but was able to get out of some tough situations and really kept that Texas A&M lineup in check.
Yeah, that was I mean, those were crazy games. I mean, I'll say this, I can't believe they kind of hung with them the way they did, but I'm very proud of that Phoenix squad for sure. As we kind of wrap up these week one highlights, I kind of don't want to read them all off because I do want to save some for tomorrow when we post them to our Twitter account and Instagram. Really looking forward to those. And as we kind of move to our top 12, Braxton, if you want to pull up our previous top 12, we can kind of talk about our power rankings and where there's going to be some serious movement. I think there are some teams that are definitely, I would say, on the chopping block or also on the outside looking in. I definitely think Duke is going to have a lot of movement because of what happened in Durham this weekend versus the Bearcats. Will ECU move? I definitely think, sadly, the Camels are going to drop out after not getting a win down there in California. Clemson, are we fine with where they are? Are the Wolfpack going to move up? Does Wake move up? Those are all questions that we are going to get answered tomorrow when the rankings come out at 12 noon Eastern. Please make sure you follow us, have your post notifications on, so as soon as they come out, you can see them. Reed, quick comments on the rankings. Who do you think will maybe have a rise? Who do you think maybe have a fall?
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it. But I would expect there's going to be some changes to it tomorrow, so everyone will see that tomorrow. I think biggest question people are probably going to be wondering is how far does Duke fall? Obviously they struggled all weekend against Cincinnati, and especially losing the way they did today. So yeah, everyone will see that tomorrow. I don't know, Braxton, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think they will fall. I mean, we will see, but I expect most of us to have them probably in the 5 to 7 range. We'll see. It could be more, it could be lower because Coastal had a really good week. North Carolina will probably stay at 1. I think there would have been a big argument if Clemson had won tonight. Kind of with if they could have. I think it would have been harsh to move Carolina out of that 1 spot for sweeping Texas Tech on opening weekend, but I think it's pretty safe to say they will probably stay there. NC State, obviously, a great weekend. If they could move up, I think Wake was just as impressive though. So it's going to be interesting to see where everyone goes with that. Charleston, I think if they sweep, they probably would have had a good argument to move up as well, but we will see if they move. And then Wilmington, I mean, how much do you value that win against Georgia? I know I value it a ton. I think it's a huge win. Despite going 2-2 this weekend, that Quinnipiac loss, I think that they, in my opinion, are still a top 12 team, and we will see if they stay in there. I think they probably will, but we will see if they move anywhere from 10.
Yeah, what do you guys think weighs more, the win versus Georgia or the loss to Quinnipiac?
Certainly the win against Georgia. Obviously, I mean, Georgia's top 10 team in the country. You get that, especially that early in the season. I mean, that's just going to build confidence for that group down there. So, I mean, people are going to be forgetting about the Quinnipiac loss here in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. Be sure to be tuned in at 12 noon for those. We are going to have a big posting day tomorrow with posting our honors, also our new team of the week. We started that last year, but kind of did not follow through with that towards the end of the year. We are going to have our team of the week. I think there are a lot of strong candidates on this last one on the rankings really fast. Who are you most impressed with on this top 12 and most disappointed in on this top 12? Reed, if you kind of want to begin.
Yeah, I'll start. Most impressed I thought the Heels. They were just dominant all weekend. I don't think they trailed. Well, maybe I think they were down 1-0 in that third game. But just their pitching, Kepley in center field, and then I'll touch on Wake. Just their offense. They looked really good all weekend. Teams most disappointed with. I mean, I think we all Duke. They were sleeper pick to win the ACC this year. Just the way they look today, especially, just getting beat everywhere on the field.
Braxton?
Yeah, I would agree with Reed. Probably Heels and Wake, and I'm going to throw Coastal in there as well. I was really impressed by Coastal and what they did. Obviously, they're playing at home. They play a lot of games at home. It seems like every year, but I mean that park is beautiful, so I can't blame teams for wanting to go there. I would say, yeah, definitely disappointed in Duke. Obviously, I was disappointed in East Carolina. I know a lot of East Carolina fans probably were. I think this, to open up the season against George Mason, that's a series that you've got to look good and dominate. I think for your fans, because like me and Casey talked about, like that schedule is not going to get any easier. You've got Campbell coming up, and then Carolina on deck waiting for the weekend. And I just think that to not only to lose game 1 of the season, but also be close to losing another one, if not 2 more. Like
both of them.
Yeah, to almost have to win on a walk-off and then another tight ball game. It's good for your team to go through that, but I think also like there's definitely some red flags. I mean, we're not going to sit here and say there's not. And I think ECU fans would agree with that. But I do expect them to be just fine. They're young. They're gonna start swinging the bat. Cliff Godwin's a great coach. It's a great program. I said it tonight. I think they probably take one at the weekend against Carolina, if not the series. But Carolina does look very good, so that will be tough. But I would say, ECU and Duke were probably the biggest disappointments from this list here this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you. I was most impressed with the Heels. I think their pitching was phenomenal. As Braxton said, that their pitching was just dominant. I think that's a trend that's going to continue. When you have DeCaro, the freshman, and then Mateus coming out there, that's just hard to beat. Very impressed by them. And most disappointing, I kind of touched on them earlier. I mean, y'all didn't really say it, but Campbell, I mean, yeah, they played a great team across the country, but then again, I mean, I was hoping they would get one for sure. Duke disappointing as well, but I'm going to have to go with the Campbell Camels. And as we kind of get to some comments from our friend Dylan, let's kind of touch on this as we kind of close out. Can you preview the ECU versus UNC matchup? Start with Reed. Just what are some quick things you're looking to see in this matchup? And
Yeah, I want to. My biggest key, I think, and that Carolina's pitching is really good. How are the young Pirate bats gonna fare? I think if they hit the ball, I think that will only help with their confidence going forward with the rest of the year. So that's what I'll be looking for this upcoming weekend. But we'll certainly have more on Thursday about this series.
Braxton?
Yeah, I was going to say, Thursday we'll definitely probably go more in depth on Thursday's show. But first, initial thoughts, I think Reed is correct. Like, these Carolina arms are going to be tough for the young East Carolina bats. There's no doubt. I'm looking for the Carolina's bats to show up a little better. Obviously,
Gallagher.
Yeah, Gallagher with a tough weekend. Hasn't got off the board in 2025 with a hit yet. He did have a couple of good swings, but him and Stevenson both had some ugly strikeouts. I think they need to clean that up before we conference play is going to come quicker this year, especially with, I think there's one extra weekend. Is that right, Reed? With the expansion. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to kind of get into gear sooner rather than later. I know it's one weekend. I'm not going to overreact, but I'm interested to see how they perform. Gallagher obviously had the big home run in Greenville last year in that game, which was huge as a freshman doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the biggest key, like Reed said, is going to be how this UNC pitching. Are they too dominant for the Pirates, or are they going to be able to scrap and get a game at least in the series? So we'll see.
Yeah, and one of my key things that I want to touch on that you'll have not touched on is the ECU pitching. I mean, ECU started 2 freshmen this weekend. Kind of looking forward to seeing how they kind of deal with the bright lights of playing one of the top programs in the country at home, on the road, and neutral site. Really looking forward to kind of seeing how they play. I'm really looking forward to seeing what day Sean G can start Reed. I'm kind of curious. Do you start him Friday, Saturday? I think you're going to start him Friday or Saturday, but kind of unsure what game you're going to start him. Which game would you start Sean Jenkins, Reed?
I would throw him Saturday in Durham personally. I'm throwing Norby Friday if I was.
You think Norby starts on Friday?
I would hope he does, but it'll be interesting to see.
Okay, for sure. And as we kind of wrap up the night here, kind of go with some kind of fun comments. If you have anything else to say as we wrap up, I will show Mr. Matt's Queens. We touched on them earlier. Kind of a great series win for them. Big shock over App State. Well, there's Matthew. Matthew is in the comment section. That's where he is. Also, another comment. We watched this today at the pad. Read any comments on the Genesis today?
Yeah, that was a brilliant final round for Ludwig Oberg. Yeah, there you go, Matt.
Braxton?
Yeah, I think he played really good golf today. I mean, I'm not a huge golf expert. I like to watch the PGA from time to time. Those Sunday final rounds are probably the most fun for me to watch. I find it harder to watch kind of the first couple rounds, but just glad that baseball's back. Really, number one. There was a ton of sports on this weekend, and that was awesome to have everyone over today. But really excited for this week upcoming. Hopefully, the weather permits us to play some baseball this week. But obviously, like Reed said earlier, we got a couple games tomorrow, and then Tuesday we start our first midweek slate of the season. So that's when the Carolina teams play each other. So that is going to be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And as we kind of wrap up here, just kind of want to let you know on the content we have coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow at 12 noon, our power rankings will come out. Be sure to follow us at Carolina Curve BB on Twitter and Instagram for those to drop. Turn on your notifications if you want to get them as soon as possible. Feel free to share your opinion. Tell us if we did a good job. Tell us if we did a bad job. I think more people will be telling us we did a bad job than a good job. But, hey, It's a part of that. That is part of the game. Another thing I want to ask. Go ahead, Braxton.
I was just gonna say, if you're on, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're kind of newer. We did get YouTube up and running tonight. We didn't have it for the first one, for the live aspect. But if you're on Twitter, head over to our YouTube, give us a subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. We thank you so much for your support. And the other thing is, we've got some good things coming this week. Some surprises possibly that are in the works. I don't want to touch too much on it, Kaysen, but I know that me and you have kind of been talking about it, and we're excited to hopefully break that out this week. But I just wanted to mention that here at the end.
Yes, we have a lot of surprises in store, not just the big one that Braxton's talking about. I have some fun things in the work as well. We're looking forward to kind of letting our fans and followers see those as we grow. And just again, as Braxton said, we are extremely grateful for all of you watching. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable how far we've come from me and Reed talking about this in the second floor of the Journal Library to now having a weekly podcast twice a week talking about the sport we love, and just it's really a privilege to be able to do this with you guys. I'm very appreciative of it. And boys, any last comments as we say goodnight and look forward to a big day tomorrow in Carolina Curveball?
It needs to warm up.
Braxton?
That can be the send off right there.
Yep, I will agree to that. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight to our second edition of Curveball Convos with the Carolina Curveball Boys. We will see you on Thursday night at 9 p.m. We will have a lot to discuss. We will discuss the midweek recap as well as the weekend previews. As we've stated many, many times this podcast, that we really hope the weather holds up. I mean, we're crossing our fingers for it because we will be in the thick of it. So, folks, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Turn on our post notifications to make sure you get all of our content fast and easy. And with that being said, folks, good night and thank you.